Hello everyone and welcome to another video. My name is Micheline. I am a certified health coach and a nutrition coach. So in today's video I am going to wow you with the topic additives. Additives are substances or some kind of chemicals that are added to our food by food producers, to give it some kind of exciting flavor, to some kind of exciting taste, and also to preserve its shelf life, to preserve it, from spoilage and to extend its shelf life. While the work of these additives are really good because we need our foods to stay fresh and good and crunchy, and taste good as well, the health risk associated with these food additives are really too bad for us to handle. There are some food additives that are good, but there are some that are really the bad guys, and actually I'm gonna talk about the bad guys today. Most of these bad guys, food additives that are the bad guys, have been banned here in Europe, especially here in Germany. And some of them are also being regulated, so they are being allowed to be added to our food in some regulated amount. The reason why I have no idea, but in countries like the United States and even in Nigeria, most of these chemicals are still in our everyday food and in the market out there. We buy them every day. We feed our children with these chemicals every day, and we still think that we don't have any idea where things are going wrong, especially when it comes to the significant rise of chronic diseases these days. So having said that, I would like to talk about two things before I jump into the 10 bad guys that I have already prepared for you guys today. The first thing is, whatever information that I am giving out today is solely for informational purposes. It is meant to arm you, to help you and guide you, to make informed choices, especially when it comes to the health, of your children and your family, as a whole. Then the second one is, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. This channel is mainly created to talk about, give you health information, nutritional information that can help you take advantage of the the information that you get here to help you promote your overall wellness. So if you subscribe to my channel, you have the opportunity to get notified whenever I post a new video, and I mean informational and educational videos. So let's get into today's topic. So like I said, I'm going to talk about additives. Have you ever wondered why the Fanta you have in Nigeria tastes differently from that of the one you have in Europe? Have you ever wondered why, when you buy your hamburger from the grocery shop, you come back home, make your hamburger, it tastes nothing like that of the one that you buy from your fast food restaurants? Yes. That is because there are food additives that is added. Like I said, these food additives enhances flavor of some kind of food, and also gives it some kind of taste, the taste that will keep you coming back for more. So the idea is to hook you and keep you coming back to buy them as much as you can. So one of these bad guys, like I said, is the first one that I have prepared for you guys today. I have about 10 of them, is the high fructose corn syrup. The high fructose corn syrup is a sweetener. It's even sweeter than sugar. You can imagine what tastes sweeter than sugar. High fructose corn syrup tastes sweeter than sugar. High fructose corn syrup has been associated with so many health risks, such as causing inflammation in the body, also raising our risk of metabolic syndrome, like high blood pressure, diabetes, which are really something, and also causing obesity as well, and most of the food that you can find containing these high fructose corn syrup is the soft drink that we usually, like I mentioned before, the Fanta, tastes so good, but be careful, because that taste could be a possible cause of your inflammation. And you know what inflammation does? Inflammation raises your risk of, high blood pressure, raises your risk of, high cholesterol, raises your risk of, heart diseases. So we really have to be very careful. And be wise, whatever it is that we buy, we consume, no matter how the taste is, we just have to be very careful how much we consume them. The next one that I have is the hydrogenated fat. The hydrogenated vegetable oil, or the trans fat as it's usually called, is a kind of fat. It could come in form of oil, it could come in form of shortening. This is associated with inflammation in the body, so it raises your risk of inflammation, thereby causing, some kind of damages to your arteries, and also, raising your risk of, high cholesterol. I mean, when I'm talking about high cholesterol, I'm talking about the bad cholesterol, and also raises your risk, of heart diseases. So you can find them mainly in processed food. And when I'm talking about processed food, when we talk about processed food, there are so many of them out there. The biscuits, the bread, everything that is packaged, that is industrially made, that is not, naturally made in your home, is processed food. So you just have to be wary of them, or learn how to read labels, so that when you see when you see the hydrogenated fat, you just stay wary of them. Here in Europe, hydrogenated fat is allowed here, I think 100 grams serving, 2 grams for 100 grams serving. But the problem is not the 2 grams, 2 grams to 100 grams servings. The problem is we, the consumers. Many people buy these things and they don't know what 100 grams serving means. You buy a packet, of 500 grams of a particular, maybe like potato chips. And then these 500 grams of potato chips, there is hydrogenated and oil, and the hydrogenated oil, 100 grams is 2 grams, 2 grams is 200 grams of serving. Then you are eating up all of the 500 grams. That is where the mistake comes. You are injecting all these things into your system, at one time, and that's why the health risk, raises up. That is the reason why it is better for you to make informed choices in place of, this kind of snacks. Look for healthier, snacks that, like fruits, that you can, that that where it's coming from and what it contains. Everybody knows that fruit is a natural product. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the artificial sweeteners. If you have had, or if you follow the World Health Organization updates on food and nutrition, you must have heard 2 months ago about the aspartame having, the possibility of being a carcinogen. Carcinogen are compounds that promotes cancer. So now, there are these artificial sweeteners like this aspartame, like just spoke about, sucralose, acesulfame, potassium, and saccharin. For the first time I heard about saccharin was in Nigeria, and people are still using saccharin in Nigeria up until now. These are sweeteners that have been linked to causing cancer. So they are, possible carcinogens, and we really need to avoid them as much as we can, So mostly where you can find them is in your soft drinks, all those minerals, as we call it in Nigeria, all those minerals and fizzy drinks, soda drinks that we have in Nigeria. This is where you find them. And you also find them, so many people say, yeah, this Coca-Cola is zero. Coca-Cola zero sugar. Beware of Coca-Cola zero sugar, because that's where the aspartame is meant to replace sugar, but it's a sweetener, but it's meant to replace sugar. But well, you can see, it is really a bad guy, and it's not good for our health. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the artificial coloring. If you must have had the yellow 40, the yellow 5 and 6, the red 40, things like that, you know what I'm talking about. And if you imagine, this coloring, you imagine them in cereals, in place things like, all these candies, like Skittles and all that. This is where you find these, food colorings. They are food dyes, and these food dyes have been linked to cause hyperactivity and also, raise the risk of cancer, in some children. So we really have to be very careful what we give to these children. I know it is very difficult because a child might be crying and you wonder, what do I give to this child? It is really of your own best interest and also for the best interest of that child that you look for some healthier options, some healthier alternative that you can give to that child to make that child, to solve the child's problem at that time, than looking for some kind of food that could put that child at risk of such a health condition. And that's not a good thing. Nobody would want to like use his or her own money to buy an illness. I wouldn't know who would do that. So the next one I have is the monosodium glutamate. The monosodium glutamate is the one we call the MSG. This is the popular name. If you must have heard about the MSG, you would know that the MSG is a flavor enhancer. Flavor enhancer are, this kind of things that are substances that are added to make the food taste some kind of way, and you usually find them in soup, in mayonnaise, in salad dressing, not just mayonnaise, in chips, and in frozen food and some kind of restaurant food. So when you go to a restaurant and that food tastes differently from what your wife or what your mom makes at home, you really need to raise eyebrows and ask questions. What's in this food? Because MSG has been linked, even though it's a flavor enhancer, it's a very good thing to enhance flavor, but it has been linked to causing headache, nausea, weakness, burning sensation, when you ingest it so much. And one thing about ingesting food so much, many people would ask, if I take it once, will it kill me? It wouldn't kill you when you take it once, but these food are food that you take every day, or even you might take it in the morning. You don't know. You might take it in the morning, and you don't know that the food you take in the morning contains it. You take it in the afternoon, and you take it in the evening, and the next day you take it. The more you are ingesting this kind of chemicals into your system, the more you are increasing the risk, of this kind of thing into your system, and thereby increasing your risk of whatever health issue that it would cause. So the earlier we start limiting the consumption of most of the food containing this kind of substances, the better for us. So the next one I have is the antioxidants, and the one I'm talking about is the BHA and the BHT. So the BHA is the, what we call the butylated, hydroxyanisole, and the other one is the butylated hydroxytoluene. These two are antioxidants, and I know many people might be thinking, oh, why antioxidants? That means they are good. Absolutely. Antioxidants are, some kind of, a substance, that prevents something from going stale. So it gives that lively it gives a particular, whatever they apply them to, it gives it a lively nature, So but the problem is that even though they are antioxidants, they are not good for our system, because BHT and BHA has been linked to, having carcinogens, and, could cause, that means they could cause cancer. And mostly where you can find them is in our cereals. You see, in Nigeria, people eat cereal like every other day. Children eat cereal in the morning before they go to school. It's a staple breakfast food in Nigeria. And because it's a staple breakfast food in Nigeria, it is something that children eat every day. So to make sure that we don't have this kind of thing, this kind of substance in that cereal, try as much as possible to read labels. And seriously, if you don't understand anything you see in that label, just don't buy it, because you don't want to use your own money to buy your own illness. Another thing where you can find this kind of food is in chewing gum, potato chips, and the vegetable oils that you use in Nigeria. Be very careful the kind of vegetable oil that you use in Nigeria. It might not only contain, BHT and BHA, it might also contain, the trans fat, because the trans fat, like I said, it makes the whole thing, it's like a shortening, and it's not really good, so sorry guys, like I said, it is very important for us to make sure that we know what we are putting on our table and we know what we are eating. So to replace vegetable oil, you can use olive oil in place of vegetable oil. I know so many people might be wondering, oh yeah, olive oil is very expensive. Olive oil is expensive because of how much we practically drink oil in Nigeria, and that's going to be a different video altogether. It's because of how much we use oil in our cookings. If you just add a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of olive oil, your family sauce is made. So you don't need half bottle of it, or maybe use one whole bottle, or have those oil come up on top of your meal for it to be a healthy meal. No, absolutely. If it looks like that, you are practically drinking that oil, and you are putting yourself at a risk of not just some kind of inflammation, but also heart disease. So the next one is the potassium bromate. The potassium bromate is another bad guy. It has been banned here in Europe. If you look at the bread here in Europe, it's quite different from the bread you see in Nigeria or the bread you see in America. A friend of mine, happens to, he came to visit me for the first time. I think this is his first time of coming to Germany. And we went to a bakery to buy some bread, because I love to buy my bread in the bakery, especially when it is fresh. Because I buy some kind of bread, it's kind of different. If I don't find it in the farmer's shop, in the farmer's market, because I go to the farmer's market on Saturday morning, then I go to the bakeries. There is this special bakery around my area where I can get this kind of natural, natural bread made with natural ingredients. So when we got there, he started laughing, and I asked him why he was laughing. He told me that the bread here are very sick, and I started laughing myself. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that, if I was in his position, I would have done the same if I wasn't a health coach or a nutrition coach. But because I am a health coach and I understand the ingredients, using most of this food, and chemicals using most of this, I now try to clarify him that the content, there is no potassium bromate here. So potassium bromate is a flour enhancer. It's that thing that gives that bread, that beautiful bigger form, and so when we bought the bread, and after preparing the bread, he was kind of like, wow, it tastes so good. It even tastes better than the one I have in the US. Yeah, but it all depends on how you prepare it and how you want your food to be. So like I said, potassium bromate is not a good guy at all. It has been banned here, in Germany. I don't know it, but it's not yet banned in the US, and it's not banned in Nigeria as well. So be very careful, because potassium bromate, has carcinogens and can, has the possibility of causing cancer or raising your risk of cancer. One thing you have to understand, is the fact that we Black people are very much susceptible to cancer, and because of that, we have to be very careful, and work and try and work as much as we can to reduce mostly our risk of getting cancer, because it's not really a good thing, and sometimes it's a bad, in fact, cancer is a bad news, so it's something that we have to really reduce our risk of getting it. And doing that, we have to stay away from white flour. White flour is not really good, and that is kind of like a staple ingredient in most of our bakery foods in Nigeria. So all those, sausage rolls and all that, they contain, potassium bromate, because it gives them that beautiful form. But well, they're beautiful, but they are not, beautiful for our systems. So the earlier we try to avoid most of this food, the better for us. So the next one is the sodium nitrate and the sodium nitrite. Both, chemicals are not really bad, in general. But because they contain, some kind of, I think when they are metabolized, when they are added to some kind of food, they're kind of metabolized, to some kind of compound which are carcinogen. And that is why they are, regarded as the bad guy. Foods that can, they are kind of like, they are used in the meat sector, to give this kind of beef, its beautiful red color. So you can usually see them in beef meat, in bacon, hot dogs, smoked fish, and corned beef. So these are where you can find this kind of thing. For me, I would say it is better you stay away from most of these things because they are not good. Bacon generally, whether, with nitrites or without nitrites, is not a good thing. Bacon, can raise your risk of, bad cholesterol. Then another thing is the ham is also not a good thing, I wouldn't say, because if you eat them in moderation, it's okay. But Nigerians, we don't eat anything in moderation because we don't know what moderation is. So the next one is these hot dogs. So many people eat hot dogs plus bread on top of it. Double wahala. So we just have to like be wise. What kind of food that we eat. So the next one is propyl gallate. Propyl gallate is another banned one, here here in Germany. It is an antioxidant, or that are used as preservatives. They have been linked to raise the risk of cancer and also regarded as endocrine disruptor. And when I'm talking about endocrine disruptor, I'm talking about the fact that they mess with our hormones, and you know what it means for women when it comes to hormones. We don't want anything that will bring, that will make our hormone go shit. So that's why we have to be very careful. Mostly the food where you can find this kind of thing is in vegetable oil. I have said, you can imagine the kind of chemicals that is being added to this vegetable oil that, we eat. Then meat products, potato stick, chicken soup, and chewing gum, so be very careful out there what you eat, and what you give to your children. Like I said, if you are looking for a better option, for vegetable oil, there are olive oil out there, and there are avocado oil out there, which are really like two oil. I use them personally, and they are really, really so good. So the next one is the sodium benzoate. Sodium benzoate, are also not good. I have had a lot of bloggers and, especially dietitians and medical doctors, I have listened to most of their podcasts talking about sodium benzoate and how bad sodium benzoate is, So mostly the food where you can find this preservative is fruit juice. So you be careful the kind of fruit juice you're eating in Nigeria. Sorry, you're drinking in Nigeria. Carbonated drinks like, your Fanta, your drinks, your soda drinks out there, just be very careful how much you consume them. And also pickles, for those of you out there who are crazy about pickles. Pickles might look healthy because it's a vegetable, but the preservative that is used, to preserve them is what makes them, bad. So that's why we have to be very careful. And that's all the 10, most popular ones that I have for you. That doesn't mean there are not other ones. There are other ones out there, but these are just the most popular ones, that I have just prepared for you guys today. Like I said, eating this thing, one time does not really create any harm. Maybe eating it once, it must, eating it one time in a week might not create any harm. But the thing is that these are the things that we eat every day. This vegetable oil is just our staple ingredient in our food. And, you know, bread is something that we eat every day. You know, cereals are things that we give to our children every day, and all of them. You know, when we go out there, we want to buy one chewing gum or the other to eat, you know, some kind of, you know, mayo, you know, when this kind of salad dressing is not in Nigerian salads, then there is trouble, you know, so the salad is not yet ready. So trying as much as possible to limit how much we consume these chemicals will help us a lot, you know, in reducing our risk of not just, you know, getting into trouble, but also promoting, you know, overall wellness. And with that, I come to the end of my video, and I hope you pick one or two things from today's video. If you have any question, just leave it on the comment section below, you know, so that we can talk about it as a community. So, and apart from that, there is nothing I would want to say again, you know. So stay healthy, stay beautiful, and I hope to see you guys on my next video. Ciao.